Good morning, it's July 22nd, I think. Yes, yesterday must have been the 21st because the day before that was the 20th. July 22nd, and I apologize for the sound, but my lapel mic has officially gone defunct. Unfortunately, it won't charge, so I've hoped to get a replacement under warranty. But until that happens, I'm back to using just the camera microphone. So I've put my little fuzz ball over it, little cotton ball over it to try to cut down wind noise. And hopefully you can hear me okay. It worked before, so I presume it'll work again. Heading back into Lakeview today. A while back I did street by street between Albert and Montague. East to west, and between Regina Avenue and McCallum Avenue, north to south. And today I'm going to go to McCallum Avenue and go McCallum to Hill and do that street by street through Lakeview, at least as far as I get till I decide I'm out of time. It's amazing how the walking a street by street like that eats up the time. Fairly warm this morning and muggy. We did get a speck of rain last night, nothing substantial. And it's still smoky, of course. The whole continent is smoky, I think. Even New York. Walking commuter, the guy that inspired these walks, was talking about the smoke. Had made it that far, so. It's up high. I don't notice it. Well, I guess it is on the ground level too. You can sort of see it, but I'm not smelling it, so it's not as thick as it has been sometimes here in past years, but it's certainly there. You could tell last night the moon was red. So I had to drive my daughter and a friend somewhere, and so I was out under the moonlight. I haven't just gone down to the metallic steps and gone along the dike for a while, so we'll do that today. I'm going to start from the west end and make my way through the streets that I plan to walk. I could have called myself Regina Streetwalker, but I figured that might have the wrong connotation. So if you're there on Facebook or YouTube, let me know. Again, it's not all that bright today, so I should be able to see. There's a bit of cloud, although the sun will probably come out on me here before too long. It looks very clear to the west. Yeah, I'd say we'll have sun before too long. It's going to get a lot warmer when that happens. Oh, black cat. I don't know if you saw him. I saw him. Since we have a black cat, I like black cats. People apparently are superstitious about them. Don't understand that. Don't understand most superstition. Here we are in the good old dike, alongside the good old Wascana Creek, looking into people's good old backyards. Oh, it's a big white bird. Was that a pelican or something else? Didn't look big enough to be a pelican. I don't know what else it would have been with that bright white. Didn't look like a seagull though. Inquiring minds want to know. That's a nice big garden down there. I'm interviewing somebody today for the podcast. Joshua Palmatier, who's a fellow Daw author, will be my guest. Doing that at 11. Then we've got a banker's appointment this afternoon. And then I think I get one more Christmas birthday present today. I think we're getting a new TV. Our old plasma TV still works, but it turns itself off in the middle of things for no apparent reason, which can be very annoying. And of course, it's only a 1080 HD, and everything now is 4K or 8K. You want to really shell out the big bucks. So we're going to get a somewhat bigger 4K smart TV. The old plasma TV is not smart either. It's just a stupid TV. All the smartness comes from the Apple TV box, which we might have to upgrade if we want to get 4K out of it. On the other hand, the TV comes with apps that cover most of the stuff we use Apple TV for. So it's very still this morning. Probably didn't need to put the little cotton ball over the microphone to cut down on wind noise. Hopefully you can hear me. I wish somebody would check in and say they could. If you're listening, can you hear me now? And do I sound like I'm talking in a very small box? Because for some reason with this built-in mic, when I switched from the lapel mic to the microphone on the phone yesterday, it sounded like I was in a small echoey box. I don't know what that is. There's no adjustments you can make to the microphone on the iPhone, except turn it on and off. Oh, there's Roger. How's the sound, Roger? Since I'm on the iPhone mic. Great sound, okay. One thing I noticed is it certainly picks up the ambient sound better. I do love these bits of garden along here on Regina Avenue here. Very attractive. Then there's the I don't want any plants to worry about approach, which some people take. Not too surprising that the ambient sound would be much more noticeable on the camera mic than it is on the lapel mic. So I don't know how long it'll be till I have a lapel mic again. If Lewinner, which is the obviously Chinese company that made this lapel mic, comes through with a replacement as they said they would, well, that'd be fine. But if it then develops the same problem over about 2 months and doesn't charge, I would not bother replacing it again. I would see about a new brand. Perhaps something a little more expensive. I mean, the wireless lapel mic has other uses than this. It's if I wanted to set up the camera and perform in front of it, for example. Audition for something. It might provide better sound. Another house down here. Interesting. Another new one next to it. course, the strip mall over there. Just be a convenience store there that seems to be gone. Well, I guess it's a Max convenience store, but it's also a vaping store, I guess is what that Max iVape means. I don't understand vaping. I don't understand smoking. I don't understand why anybody would suck stuff into their lungs. Except oxygen. And a little bit of, at the moment, forest fire smoke. Close enough to smoking for me. Oh good, I have some small sharp object occasionally digging into my foot inside my shoe. Hopefully it positions itself so I can carry on my wayward son. I was just going to say carry on, but as soon as you say carry on, it's carry on my wayward son. Especially if you watched as many seasons of Supernatural as I did. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Now, 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 now. That's enough of that. I think the throat clearing is partly related to the smoke in the air. I've been a little scratchy throated since the smoke came in. Okay, this is 20th. The next one is McCallum, and then we will just carry on up the hill. Not up the hill, but, well, it is kind of uphill because the river's behind me. Carry up to hill, I should have said. And maybe I did. And then we'll go street by street to the west through Lakeview until I either get tired, run out of time, or reach Albert Street, whichever comes first. Not the most interesting bit of green space I've walked through, but there's always green space. Little tiny houses. One new one on the corner there. Guess there's a bit of a breeze here, so hopefully the little cotton ball I put over the mic will cut some of the wind noise. Well, the lapel mic didn't cut it either. Even when I put the, what they charmingly call the dead cat for larger microphones, the little fur ball over it, it still got wind noise. But it was closer to my mouth, so that perhaps don't. This is McCallum. There's what, 2 blocks between here and Hill, or 3? I can never remember. Looks like 2, I think. I can see the stop sign down there. Work-wise, well, I did some Kickstarter stuff yesterday. Got more Kickstarter stuff to do, including editing more stories. And of course, the Tangled Stars. I didn't work on it yesterday after working on it really thoroughly on Wednesday, but I got pulled into other things yesterday. Got to do some of that today. I can't let that. It's due. It's overdue. I'm enjoying reading it though, which is cool. It's always fun to enjoy your own writing. I think people will enjoy it. That one's for sale over there if you're looking for a new modern house here in Long Montague. Maybe it's 3 blocks. No, it's just 2. house, little house. Old house, modern house. Oh, good grief, I don't know if I can read all that, Roger. I'll need some shade because the sun just came out. Let me see. Nope, not hearing anything. I think that must be iPhone adjusting to ambient sound. I'm not doing a thing. Except walking and talking. So I suspect the iPhone is trying to level things out somehow. And there are no microphone settings on the iPhone except for what apps you want it to be active for. So there's nothing I can do. Unless there is I actually looked at it, but I haven't really looked at it that closely because I got the lapel mic. There is a third-party app that lets you do things with your microphone, so maybe I should look at that. Oh, unstable internet connection. I didn't expect that along here. Okay, so here's Hill. We will now start going up and down these same blocks to the left, block by block. I've walked along many of them, but not in this systematic fashion. Hello, squirrel. Bye, squirrel. They always run around to the other side of the tree to hide. Little Lakeview Fine Foods grocery store, 7-Eleven over there, and of course that's the little Lakeview shopping area there that I've walked by many times. And St. Luke's Anglican Church directly ahead of us. Okay, to the left, to the left, to the left. Get away from this busier street. So this is Hill, which of course goes all the way down to Albert. Whether we'll get that far or not depends on how long it takes to do what I'm doing. Also, I got something in my eye, which is annoying to say the least. Contacts, ow, and something in my shoe. But other than that, it's a fine morning for a walk. And of course, Carry On My Wayward Son is now running through my head. I give myself my own earworms. So this is Athol. Now we go from Athol, along Athol, down to McCallum. Flowers. It's so muggy. It's so unusual for Saskatchewan too. Usually when it's hot it's dry, but even though we're kind of in a drought, we've had very little rain, it's muggy. Now, I went to school in Arkansas, so, you know, it's not that muggy or hot. Also, as I think I mentioned, I was in the marching band, and for whatever reason, our uniforms were winter weight wool uniforms. That's what we wore to march in on hot summer days. So that was fun. They were fine come the outdoor concert just before Christmas we always did. But marching in them was sometimes uncomfortable. Unstable internet again. Couple of modern houses on that corner too. Oh, this one has sold. The exception was the drum corps. For some reason, they got to wear these kind of lightweight blouses, things, sort of peasant shirts, and just wore a sash. The rest of us were stuck in full black woolen uniforms, or some woolen, I don't know what, blend, probably wool and something else. I always thought of them as wool. On the plus side, I was the only one who didn't have to wear the little marching band cap, you know, the one with the bill and has the little brush that sticks up in front, for the simple reason that my head was too big. You were a big one. I simply didn't have one that fit my head. It's not really the size, it's the shape. It's big and it's kind of elongated, my skull. I was fortunate to be able to play football in high school. Western Christian College. There's a front garden. There's a lot going on. Western Christian College, I think, had gotten used football equipment from the Rough Riders. It helped that our colors were green and white. Maybe that's why they had this one helmet that would fit me. There was only one. If they hadn't had that one helmet, I don't think I could have played football. I only played for 1 year. I was the center. And I didn't do long snaps. I just did the usual short snaps and then block. That was my skill, getting in other people's way. But we won 6 games in a row by lopsided scores, and then lost our first playoff game to Esterhazy. I still remember that. 22-7 was the score. We thought we were invincible. We were brought low. After all, we beat Fort Qu'Appelle 69-12, and we had other scores that were kind of like that. So we thought we were so good. Oh well, water under the bridge. Football under the bridge. Oh, by the way, there's the Lakeview United Church, which I've often pointed out, where we rehearse Regina musical theater stuff. And in fact, we are going to be doing a show this fall, again, in person. I think we have to wear masks in rehearsal this fall still, but organization's choice. No requirement from the government. And it's, what was it called? Well, I was talking about earworms. I don't remember what they're calling it, but it's songs that from the last few decades that are really, really catchy and stick in your head. So everybody should leave that one humming something or singing something. Lots of the original little houses along here on this block. The occasional new, bigger one on this side. As you can see, the sun is coming out. It looks like a vegetable garden in the front as opposed to an ornamental one. Blue roof and a yellow door. Quite catching, eye-catching. Metal roof too. Always wondered about those. You'd think they'd last a long time. Always wondered what they sound like in a hailstorm though. Little house, old house, big new houses. Or house. Or duplex? No, it's 2 houses. I can see the gap now. Oh. Sand on the sidewalk. Back on 21st, one more block up the hill, then we'll turn around and go south again. I always wonder when you see a road like this with these gouges in the asphalt, exactly how that happened. Something to do with the equipment, obviously, that was used on the road, but why did they leave gouges in the asphalt? Mostly little older houses along here. Construction ahead of us, but we won't be going past hill. Now Smoke on the Water is playing in my head. Bum, 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 ba-dum. The one riff everybody in my age group wanted to play on their guitar or bass guitar. I remember playing it on the bass because I played bass. And I played it on the piano too. It's not that hard, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the main selling point in a song to be played on the piano. That's pretty. Pretty hard and flowers, garden. A couple of newer ones. That one's pretty too. I like a white picket fence. This is Cameron. That was Garnet we just walked up. This is Cameron. Cameron would take us back to the footbridge if I went that route, but haven't walked long enough yet, so I'm going to do that. So far nobody has said hi on YouTube, so if you're there, say hi. And we'll go to the other side, shady side, as the sun gets higher and hotter. Somebody commented on a walk a while ago that there's a lot of camping equipment on the streets. As I said then, that's just the time of year it is. You see a lot of boats on the streets too. Sometimes I walk down the alley, but today I'll stick to the streets. There was a little bit of mud and a little bit of water on the sidewalk. Slippery as ice. Closest I've come to falling on these walks has been mud. Little layer of mud on concrete. That's an interesting old house. And a new one next to it. I didn't really come close when there was still ice around. But a couple of times I've slipped in mud. But I did not fall. This is still Facebook Live, not Faceplant Live. And there's that unstable internet again. All right, 21st, one more tune. How long have I been going here? Well, more or less the halfway point. So we'll see. I could go a little longer. Yesterday I only went 45 minutes, so if I went a little longer than that today, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Well, it's never the end of the world. the 3 people watching don't care. If I'm lucky, 3 people are watching live. More watch the reprint, the replay. This one's for sale. It looks nice. Very symmetrical. I like symmetrical houses. I don't know why. A couple of newer ones, but made to blend in to the older ones a bit. Very bold color choice on the door on that one. Here's a nice older one, I like that. Symmetrical, see? Yeah, new ones over here. Mosquito in my ear. There haven't been too much problem on these walks. Maybe it's because I'm mostly on the streets. Also, they tend to stay in the shade on a hot day. More camping equipment visible. Alrighty, around the corner and north again on Robinson, I guess, is the next one. Been watching that new one come along. There never seems to, oh, I guess there are people there now. I was gonna say there never seems to be anybody working there, but they just showed up. There's Lakeview School over there, which I've walked by many times. And there's a dog. Oh, no, I thought she was walking a dog. Guess she's not. New one over there. One with a good front garden and a nice little entrance arch. Looks like an older one that's been re-stuccoed. Okay, south on Robinson. Then we just have Metallic, Ray and Angus, I guess. Is it Ray? I think so. That's actually quite a large one when you see it from the side. Yeah, and it's the same block. Internet connection is unstable. Weird. Something about the trees and wherever the tower is, I guess. There's one for sale. This is pretty. The contrast between the wood, dark wood stain and the white, that's very pretty. Same style, but hasn't been redone as recently. Gives you a contrast to the two. And 21st, another block to hill. Lit up in the sun now. That's a new one that fits in nicely, I think. Not an old one that's been redone. Oh, it's bigger than I thought too. Good sized one. Pretty. Oh, here's another with a nice finish. Also some nice flowers in the front. So we stop and salute the provincial flower. Oh, it was probably a very modern one when it was built. There's a number along here that have interesting exterior treatments on the old houses, like this one with the shaped shingles and the brick arch. Ooh, sidewalk's wet, so let's watch out for the thin layer of mud again. I don't know if I'm talking loud enough. I forget I don't have the lapel mic and I'm probably mumbling a bit. This is hill coming up again. I'll go around it and then it's north on Retallick. I like that one over there in that corner too. It has that somewhat castle-y look. Kind of a turret. It should have battlements on it. And possibly cauldrons full of boiling oil, but you can't have everything. It does have a Canadian flag. Anyway, corner lots are often something you can do more interesting with the grounds too. So I like that. All right, over to Retallick, which is technically would, if you could walk straight south on it, would take me home, but there's this creek in the way. It's a wider street hill. Hill and McCallum are both extra wide. Little free library over there. Another nice looking one. All right, north on Retallick. How long have I been out now? 37 minutes? Oh, I'll make it to Albert, I think. Also depends on which way I'm going. So I'll be... Actually, I probably will only go as far as Angus because Albert would take me in the wrong direction once I get there. So once I get to Angus and I'm headed this direction, I will carry on south to get to the bridge. These big trees, this is a very mature landscaped area because it's such an old neighborhood. Lots of places have this kind of Caragana hedge between property. That's actually what we have on both sides of our front yard. It's a Caragana hedge, and it goes all the way down the west side. It has to be trimmed periodically because it gets up into the power lines otherwise. Oh, I'm pretty sure the solar panels are not original equipment. The Caragana hedge, that one's really big, so they can grow very tall if you don't trim them. But ours is, well, the one out front is quite tall. It's not trimmed. But the one in the back where the power line comes in from the alley has to be trimmed periodically. Well, since the long missive from Roger telling me about my sound, I've had no notes from anybody, so I guess I'm talking to myself here. But that's okay. I don't mind. I'm a writer. It's what I do for a living, really, is talk to myself. Oh, sure, I put it on the page and other people can read it later, but essentially I'm talking to myself, telling myself stories, playing make-believe. Only make-believe. Another song cue. I love you, only make believe that you love me. And we're back to McCallum up here. Once more around. How long does each block take? Not too long. So yeah, I think it'll work out. Well, it will work out because that's the way I'm going to do it. So it's already decided. However long it takes me to get back home when I come down Angus, that will be the extent of this walk. Oh, there's definitely a more modern add-on with lots of windows. And McCallum again. It was a broader street and a street that did attract some of the more interesting houses along here, many of which are included in my book, Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw, which you can find online, although I don't believe there's an ebook version of it. I wonder if I could get the rights and make an ebook version of it. I'd have to walk them all again to see which buildings are still there, because some places have been torn down. That's called the Doll's House over there. It was built by an architect for his daughter as a wedding present, if I remember right. Always wanted to see inside it. Very modern one on this side, by contrast. You see it has a historical plaque in front of it. More water on the sidewalk, so I'll be careful. Okay, once more to the right, once more south, around the corner once more north, and then home. Won't walk along Albert, because I'd be going south when I got there, and I don't want to go south once I'm there. I like houses with the half-timbered, sort of Elizabethan look. I've mentioned that before too. It comes from reading all those fantasy novels. And maybe Shakespeare, I don't know. It's a big house with a big attached garage. It was probably very modern for the area when it was built. It's got to be half a century old by now. That style, I would think. There are nice ones over here, old ones. We're doing something on the other side. The brick archway again. And this one, speaking of Elizabethan style, well, not really, but that half-timbered look. Even more so, and it has the brick archway that I like as well. I do like the front of that one. And it's got the nice curved pathway walking up to it. We have a curved pathway. Ours is concrete, not brick. Doesn't look quite that interesting. That one has a turret. I like turrets. And it has battlements. Not really big enough to hide behind if you're attacked, but still. Big old green one. That's an interesting color choice. And a big modern next to it. Oh, right, this one I've walked by before. Speaking of bold color choices. And this little one, which would have been very modern when it was built, right next to it. All right, coming up the hill again, we'll go around the corner, we'll go north on Angus, and then we will find our way across the creek in some fashion. Swimming is out of the question, I'm afraid. There's another one for sale. I think I've walked by here before and pointed it out. This one is for sale. All right. So when I hold this, it's more or less at mouth level for me. And somebody had commented, watching it, somebody I know who's quite a bit shorter said, "Oh, at your height you can see the tops of the cars when you walk by them." I said, "Yes, and I'm not even holding it at my eye level. Eye level would be up here. But I would probably walk into things if I did that." There's one for sale over there too. All right, Angus. So this will take us towards home. The next big one up there is Albert, which I'm not going to walk along. Another pleasant looking house. Pretty much all pleasant looking down here. All right, all the way down Angus now to Regina Avenue. So there's minimal grass, some nice flower planters. Less work, I would think. One of the rare all brick houses over there. It's a nice big one. I think they tried to get it on the home tour one year, but they wouldn't do it. Can't really blame them. I'm glad people do it. That's where people visit houses and to raise money for to have in school. This house I know well. I know the person who lives there and I've been there many times. It's always a nice street at Christmas time, which is when she tends to have a birthday party. Not a Christmas party per se. Another nice symmetrical one that I like. Ditto. Ditto, ditto. Big one in that corner with the turret. Like that one too. Again, a corner lot, and they have the big porch. I like porches. Takes me back to my childhood in the South. Oof. Another one. Not quite symmetrical because it's got a big wing down on this end. It's like symmetrical with the addition of a wing on one end. It's another popular choice. Same here. Okay, this time I will carry on across McCallum. House I've walked by several times now. Used to be a single family, and then it was some sort of group home, and I suspect it's apartments now, but I don't know for sure. Just from what they call it. I think it's probably been divided into apartments. Still an attractive house, though. One has a turret, kind of. Guess I'll go across the Albert Street Bridge. It's a little shorter. Or I could take a swing through the west end of the lake, I guess, but then I'd be crossing Albert, which I don't need to do if I just take the bridge. So. Besides, tomorrow's walk around the lake day. So I have to decide which way I want to walk. Last week was the first time I'd walked counterclockwise since the pandemic began, and they decided that walking clockwise all in the same direction was somehow going to prevent infections. One more block to Regina Avenue. I don't know if there's any new houses on this block. They mostly seem to be the older style. There's another one with the interesting shingles. Give it a kind of whimsical appearance, I guess. Slightly fairy tale look. I don't know why. I don't know that there's anything in fairy tales about the shingles on houses, but all the same, that seems to be the way it looks. Okay. Now we'll go down to the Albert Street Bridge. And they're crossing down there or here if jaywalking seems safe and appropriate, which it does. Regina Avenue. Now, also has big houses on it. Of course, the lake is just the other side here of the creek, of Albert Street, which is not a creek, but a street. Remember, this one on the corner here is quite old, but it was completely redone a few years ago. This one here same shape, but doesn't look anything the same on the outside. But it's quite an old house that I remember from my book. Most of these probably are the older ones because this was a very desirable neighborhood when it opened in the early years. All right, so you can see the lake over there. We'll go across on the bridge and then a couple of blocks to home. We just got Canadian flags flying now. Even though Canada Day is over, so I'm not sure why. Maybe for the Olympics, I suppose, maybe. I can feel the heat coming off of the pavement. Noticeably warmer here. Well, and of course the sun's unobstructed, but and the parkland is over here. And of course the bridge, as I pointed out, has these lovely colored terracotta balustrades and these buffalo heads as you go along, bison heads. And the flagpoles above, bravely flying the flag of the month. They seem to change them every month. And you can sit in these benches. You don't really ever see anybody sitting there, what with the cars going by, but it gives you a nice view of the... You can see the sky is fairly unobstructed in that direction. Also, pelicans. You can usually see pelicans along here. Sure, we can get closer to them. There they are, pelicans. I love the fact there are danger thin ice signs left up year-round, even when it's been 35 degrees. Yeah, the ice is extremely thin. And there's tomorrow's lake. Well, today's lake too. Tomorrow's when I'll walk around it. The whole area is called Lakeview. These are pretty much the only houses that actually have a lake view, especially that one with the higher... Is that the one that burned and then was rebuilt? I don't remember. What a large house. One of those houses had a serious fire but has been rebuilt. So in one way it's a nice location, on the other hand, you sit out on your deck or whatever, you've got all this traffic noise. Speaker's Corner over there. We're still working away underneath the tunnel there, painting murals. So there was still lots of wall space last time I was down there. How long have I been here? Oh, this will work out just about right. Yeah, pretty close to my preferred walking time. So again, that's where Wally Knight lives in my Shards of Excalibur series, available now. Currently a Amazon exclusive and ebook. You can get the first 3 in new print editions. You could probably find one of the older Kato book print editions still available. You certainly can for me. You can also get the old print editions directly from Shadowpaw Press for a very reasonable price. If you'd like to buy the entire 5-book series, check out shadowpawpress.com. Anyway, Wally Knight, the boy from the books, lives back there on Harrington Mews in a fictional house, but a very real location. And I am warm. Pretty blue flowers. One of the things I did on Kickstarter yesterday was send out a final thank you and farewell to folks who, ow, getting bit by something. Sorry about that. If there's a mosquito, but it's right on my shoulder blade where I can't actually reach it, and not with the hand that's not holding the camera. Anyway, July 31st, my access to the backers list from the first Kickstarter expires. Now, it's perfectly possible to download emails from everybody who's on that list, but I'm not going to do that for privacy reasons. And you kind of say that you won't do that when you do a Kickstarter. So I said a final farewell, thanked everybody, and said, if you want to keep up with me, here's my website, edwardwillett.com, and the publishing website, shadowpawpress.com, and the podcast website, theworldshapers.com, and my YouTube channel, tinyurl.com/Edward Willett on YouTube. Oh, there's actually a car coming here. Fortunately, he crunched on the gravel, so I knew he was there. And of course, Davin School down there in front of us. As I pointed out every time I come down the alley here. And I did get 2 or 3 people sign up for my newsletter, and I think that had to have come from that final email to the Kickstarter people, because I just mentioned that you could do it on my website. And I had 2 or 3 new subscriptions, and I also mentioned Star Song, the new young adult science fiction novel, and it sold a few more copies than I would have expected yesterday, so I don't know if that may have come from that as well, although I think I'm also running Facebook ads at the moment for that, so it's hard to know what's driving that, but at least it sold a few copies. Alrighty. Well, thank you for walking with me. If you were there live, it doesn't seem like anybody was probably, but if you were, thank you. And if you just watched the recording, thanks for that. I'll be back tomorrow for the Friday walk around the lake. Bye for now.